The origins of the word apocalypse are not that of a scary doomsday, but to uncover or reveal. I believe it is a symbolic period of time of deep transformation, of the death of the old and the rebirth of the new, and I do not believe it happens in a cinematic blink of an eye. I think it is a multi-phased, extended period of time of transformation and reworkings and uncoverings that lasts years, decades, and lifetimes. That being said, I'm going to be connecting with whoever wants to answer that is unconditionally loving, unconditionally supportive, unbiased, and has the highest good of the collective in mind. The way that I'm going to be doing this apocalypse reading is essentially I'm going to be first doing a collective reading, asking what an important collective energy that the collective is experiencing right now during this phase of the apocalypse. And then I'm going to split it down into 3 groups, which will represent 3 main perspectives of this current phase of the apocalypse. That is where you will pick a group. And it won't be necessary to watch all 3 because I'm going to recap them very simply in the last phase of this reading, which will be how can the 3 perspectives of this current phase of the apocalypse work together in unison and find more balance in our perspectives. So that being said, I'm going to start off with the collective, an energy that the collective is experiencing right now during this phase of the apocalypse. What is an important energy that the collective is experiencing right now during this phase of the apocalypse? Whoop. And apprentice, higher education, beliefs, and wisdom. This is so interesting because I was trying to guess what this collective, I feel very tuned into the collective, and I was like, whatever's happening right now is a lot less chaotic than what we have been experiencing, whatever it is, because it feels a lot more, it feels like a period of growth, it feels like, I was going to say it was like a void period, but this makes a lot of sense. So I'm already thinking that right now the collective energy we're in is we are in an energy where all of us are trying to learn more. We are starting to realize that things are being uncovered, and we are now essentially trying to collectively work together to figure out different truths, okay? So I just got this Alchemy of the Spirit Oracle deck. I don't know what most of the cards mean, but I feel like I'll be able to figure it out, but also I'll probably read from this a little bit, okay? Can I get some more information on the collective energies that are being experienced right now during this phase of the apocalypse? Okay, well that was weird how it picked up, so I'm gonna grab this. The waterfall. Dude, and there's like an open hand on this. I hope I'm holding it right, but there's like an open hand receiving the water in this card, which I find to be interesting. Let's see what else. Okay, here's one. Oh, wow. The tree. And in the tree, there are several different symbolic things. There's a skull, a moon, a sun, 2 skulls, a moon, a sun, an angel, and a cat. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully. My setup is crappy. If you want it to be better, give me money. Anyway. Let's get one more. What are the current energies, collective energies during this phase of the apocalypse? Oh, you know what? Maybe it's supposed to be like that. Okay, and we got one more. And we got the swamp, which I actually pulled this one for myself when I was playing around with it yesterday. The swamp, also very cute. And I'm starting to wonder if there's a cat on literally every single one of these cards, because all 3 of these, I'm gonna just look for a minute. Yeah, I think they all have cats on them. That's dope. Cool. So let me look at the waterfall and the tree. But I'm going to say right now what I think is going on is that this phase of the apocalypse, I feel as though the entire collective has probably, we've come to like a general consensus. What do they call it? Consensus reality. That there is more to this reality than anyone would care. Yeah, I feel like I don't even need this. I'm going to look just in case at the end. But we are learning collectively, and I think it has hit consensus reality, that there is more to reality than we are led on to believe. And we are collectively in a phase of learning. However, from the tree being in reverse, which, you know, trees can symbolize, you know, groundedness, being in touch with the earth, being in touch with like ancient knowledge, things of that nature. They can also represent community, because if you know about how trees work, they're very community minded. They share resources with their tree friends. They have tree friends, like they have community. So the fact that this is in reverse, and the fact that we have the swamp, which is feeling like overburdened with confusion and like so much emotion that it's overwhelming. I also think it's interesting that there's a sword in here, and you know, in tarot, swords symbolize the mental realm. And let me look at this sword. So I think that collectively we are in a period where we are all just like, consensus reality is there's more to reality than we're led to believe. And we're sitting here confused. We're open-handed. We're like, okay, let me just absorb all of this information and try to sort through this information. And the process can be ungrounding. It can be chaotic. It can be confusing. But essentially, I think that collectively most people are understanding. We're coming to an understanding that this process of rediscovering truths that have been forgotten is going to be a confusing and chaotic process to sort through all of the programming and propaganda. And most of us, like collectively, I think most people are open-handed about it. Like, just let's see what comes my way, essentially. Like, and then, yeah, so I think that's about what this is in summary. Collectively, we're very much in apprentice mode, where we're like, all right, I understand that reality has more to it than I've been led to believe. I understand that that's confusing and chaotic. Let me just surrender to the process. But I think with the swamp and the tree being in reverse, I think that there definitely will be collective energies of like confusion, ungroundedness, etc. But I do think that overall, the collective is open-handed about it, is like, okay, let's just see what happens. Let's just start absorbing the knowledge. So that is what I think for collective. And then I'm going to pull a Women of Westeros Oracle deck for each pile for different perspectives. Oh, this is so cool. I'm glad I had this idea. So, what sucks about this, I got this Women of Westeros Oracle deck because I love Game of Thrones, and I love having Oracle and Tarot decks based off of TV shows that I love, because I feel like I connect with them a lot more, and it gives, because I'm like a nerd, so my intuition can really draw off of more based off of that. But there are a lot of characters in here from House of the Dragon, which I am not up to date on. And I also haven't seen, like, I watched Game of Thrones like 3 times, but I haven't watched it in like 5 years. So there's going to be some characters that I don't really remember, and I might have to look up. But let's do 3 Women of Westeros to represent 3 different perspectives while we are in this. And I'm going to leave this actually card on top because I think it ties together the themes very well. While we are in this collective energy of apprenticeship, let's get 3 Women of Westeros to represent the 3 main overarching perspectives of this period, of this phase of the apocalypse. Let me... One wanted to pop out. Okay. This one. Oh, I love this lady. See, it gave me one I knew. I don't know how to say her name, but Miss Ande, I think. Daenerys says it with her accent, so I think it's like Miss Ande. I don't know. God, yeah. Whew, that's powerful energy. All right. Let's go with the second perspective, overarching perspective of this phase of the apocalypse. Because ultimately, my belief is that there really isn't a right or wrong. You know, everything is working out the way it's supposed to in our best interests. And ultimately, we will find that there is a way for all of these different perspectives to come into harmony. Selyse Baratheon. Now, what I need to know, I think this might be the daughter of the Baratheon that wants to be king. So I am going to look that up really quick because that's important. But first, let me grab the third one. Oh my god, that would be crazy. Like, this would be so... It's this one. And Arya Stark. Thank you, Spirit, for giving me 3 women I love and resonate with. Hold on, let me look up this Selyse Baratheon. No, that's the wife. Oh my god. Whew, that's powerful energy. Oof, okay. All right, so go ahead and pick your card. We have Miss Ande. I'll try to do a close-up. Hopefully it works. Like I said, I don't have a great setup. I live in a studio apartment. That's pile 1. Pile 2. And pile 3. Oh, shit. Dude, I literally have chills. All right, pile one. So your perspective on the apprenticeship phase of the apocalypse. Starting off, Missandei. Now, she was really, if you don't know Game of Thrones, she was essentially kind of like an ambassador. She spoke for Khaleesi. She was if I remember correctly, it's been a few years, but she was a slave that Khaleesi freed. And essentially, Khaleesi put her on her team of people who represent her. She became like her most trusted advisor, really, when it came down to it, and kind of her ambassador, her translator. I think she started off as a translator and eventually worked her way to an ambassador. So, and she has this very beautiful, balanced, diplomatic energy about her. So right off the bat, I'm thinking that whoever chose pile one is coming from a perspective of you probably had to struggle, and you are looking at things from a place of understanding both sides of the perspective, a very diplomatic standpoint. Let's get a little more information. The Rose. This one is about love. This card. I did also pull this last night. Oh, I forgot. I was going to point it this way so that it faces the camera. And the Rose. Anything else from this deck? Okay. Let's just go with this. The House. Let me look at this. Yeah. Whew. Anything else from this? Okay. I'm going to do a couple tarot cards from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer tarot deck, which I think I'm going to start doing periodical readings, like Apocalypse collective and individual readings. And I love that I have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer tarot deck because that's all about the apocalypse, and also the Game of Thrones oracle deck because it's about an apocalypse of sorts. We got Page of Cups. Oof, oof, oof. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's see what happened here. Okay. And Ten of Swords. That's interesting. See if anything else wants to come out. And I want to do a little more because my tarot cards are not, they're in order because I've been listening to this podcast. It's supposed to give you more of an in-depth knowledge of like the journey that tarot represents. So I put all my cards in order so that I could appropriately watch and follow along. Okay, last one. No. Okay, Queen of Swords as well. I don't know where to put this. We're just going to put it up here. So this is the perspective that I'm thinking that this pile comes from during this apprenticeship phase of the apocalypse. It is one of like diplomacy, of harmony, of understanding. So there is an energy of, again, like I said, coming from a period of, you know, most of her life was struggle. Coming from a period of, and this actually came out, like, I think it would have come out in the reverse for you guys. So in this way, you can look at it as healing after a period of struggle. This one, the Rose, represents self-love. From this, I'm not sure what it's supposed to represent. I can look at that, but I'm going to say probably something to do with stability because it's a house. Where's the fucking thing? 5. Yeah. Yeah. Order. Page of Cups, intuition. Queen of Swords, discernment. So yeah, I'm feeling that like your perspective in this period of the apocalypse, you might very well be the person who's trying to play diplomat, trying to harmonize the situation, trying to offer wisdom and guidance in a way that is connecting and helpful to the entire collective. You very well might be, consider yourself like a light worker. You might consider yourself some sort of spiritual teacher or guide. I'm thinking that you probably have a public role in whatever this period of the apocalypse is, where you're essentially trying to play ambassador, where you're like, okay, guys, we don't have to fight about all these different perspectives. These different perspectives are all valid, and here's how they can work together. Like, and you're kind of trying, like, the fact that she's also a translator, and we've got two swords here, you might also be trying to get people to understand different perspectives. Like, because inevitably in this phase of the apocalypse, this apprenticeship phase where everyone's learning and taking in all this information, there's going to be people who go, no, my perspective is right. No, my perspective is right, and get culty about it. Now, it feels like your perspective and your role in this phase of the apocalypse is to be the person who says, there's no need for cults. There's no need for fighting. There's no need. All of the perspectives can work together. Here, let me show you how this one can make sense with this one as well. And like you play a bit of a connector, offering like balance and love and stability into the situation, while also bringing about intuition, spiritual guidance, and logical, intellectual guidance as well. So that's all I have for this pile. I'm gonna, again, at the end, do one where I kind of summarize them all and talk about how they can all work together. I will say that for you, you might be the reason that they all work together, because it seems like that's very much your role in this phase of the apocalypse, is to help people to understand how everything can work together in unison. Hello, pile 2. I'm gonna say right now off the bat that this might not be information or a perspective or an interpretation that is easy for you to accept based off of this character. I will give you a little rundown in case you aren't a Game of Thrones fan. This character is the wife of a guy who was trying to be king, and the guy had this high priestess of a religion, so that wasn't like a mainstream religion. It was more of a cultish type religion, and it was a cultish type religion where they did very archaic things in the name of their religion. So her husband essentially got sucked into a cult, and by the end of it, she did have to watch her child die because of this cult. Now, she was skeptical the entire time, but she was like, you know what, honey, you're the brains of the operation. This must be true. And by the time it got to the point where her child literally died because of this cult, she was like, oh my God, everything I've ever known was a lie. How could I? And like, she experienced deep grief, and obviously, like, what was I thinking? How could I let this happen? It was very traumatic for her. But that tells me that, first of all, like I said to the first pile, this period, this apprenticeship period of the apocalypse is going to come with people trying to sort through all the different perspectives and make sense of them. And because of that, there will be people who try to start cults, essentially, who get very dogmatic about it. Rather than opening their mind up to all the possibilities, they cling to one possibility out of fear, out of uncertainty. And it feels like your perspective in this maybe that you may have a hard time discerning, like, you might kind of believe the propaganda of certain perspectives, the fear-mongering propaganda of certain perspectives. Because I want to say this, the lady, the high priestess that is like the head of the cult, she has a very fearful message that is essentially, if you don't worship the Lord of Light, you will, essentially, our version of burn in hell. And she literally, if somebody disobeys or goes against or blasphemizes the Lord of Light, she literally burns them in a fire. So essentially, anybody who engages in blasphemy gets burnt in a fire. And it ends up that this little girl this woman's daughter engages in blasphemy and gets burnt in a fire due to the religious cult. So that is extremely, obviously you probably don't have anything that extreme going on in your life, but I would say that there's a possibility that you may be getting hooked onto some dogmatic, propagandized, fear-mongering belief systems that you are very skeptical of. And this card would tell me that it's a good thing that you're skeptical of it, and you should trust your intuition, and you should, anything that like tells you that you have to be fearful of or try to expel any sort of perspective that it doesn't match your own, is suspect. You should not trust people who are trying to get you to go against other people, who are trying to make you afraid of other people. So let's see if we can get a little more. That's intense. It's a really intense character. The wolf. Okay. Okay, that came out so quickly. And you got the sun in reverse. So that should be that way for you, because it should be reversed. And no, wait, it should be this way for you, because it should be reversed. The Village in reverse. So right here with this, okay, so actually there's a theme right here. Because wolves are a pack. They're community-minded. This should be this way for you. I think that you have a strong sense of community and you are confused about how that plays out. That you might see that whatever your perspective you're believing in is essentially a pack mentality, and you might be confused, like, okay, this is our community, this is our family, but also I'm unclear about whether or not I agree with everything they're putting out. And the fact of the matter is that you know, a lot of cults will position themselves as a family or a community, but at the end of the day, they're actually not a family or a community. They are preyed upon by the cult leader and the hierarchy of the cult. They are essentially used by the cult. So I think you might have a strong sense of community, and that might be part of the confusion if you have confusion. But ultimately, understand that in a community, everybody should be working for everybody's benefit, including, you know, outsiders who mean you no harm, you know, including everybody within that community. So I think that's just a little bit of guidance to clear things up for you, that if you are worried about or confused about the community aspect, evaluate how much of a benefit whatever it is in your community is to everybody in the community, and whether or not there is an oppressive hierarchy or fear-mongering or propaganda. And I will see if there's any tarot cards to get for you. Okay, let's go from here, first of all. Queen of Wands. Yeah. So this is advising you to get in touch with your own power, your own passion, your own power, your own expressive energy. You might be a part of some sort of, or you might be curious about, or in some way questioning some sort of community that wants to take away the importance of the individual. So this is advising you to get in touch with your own creative ability, your own passion, your own self-expression. Oh, Spirit said leave. The Fool. It said go on a new journey. It said leave. Oh, shit. I think the overall message, let's see if there's any more tarot for this. But I think the overall message is that your respect for community in itself, okay, and the Tower, which symbolizes a collapse, a complete collapse of your foundations, a complete collapse of your old life and a rebirth of the new life. So you got the Fool, the Tower, and the Queen of Wands. So what I'm going to say, that overall the message here for you is that if you are, it's fine that you're a very community-minded person, but I think that what Spirit is suggesting is that you, before you can really be an authentic, active member of a community, and before you can have true discernment about the community that you wish to be a part of, you have to know yourself really well. You have to essentially, I think you're being called to completely let go of all of your old understandings and get to know yourself and figure out what foundations you want to be built on. And then with that, you will be able to more appropriately understand what type of communities you want to be a part of and what type of, what your values are, and you'll have a more clear picture of your values and your purpose and how you fit into the world around you if you let go of this old foundation. I'm thinking that you probably really are a part of a very specific community, and you're being called, I think you're skeptic and confused. You're being called to let go of this and essentially embark on a journey of self-discovery in order to be able to better discern how to be a part of a community. This was intense, but it makes sense because this is an intense character. Hopefully it made sense. Again, I'm going to summarize it at the end and talk about how all these different perspectives can work together to essentially move through this phase of the apocalypse. So that's all for this part. Hit me up at the end of the video. Hello, pile 3. This is your role, your perspective, your part in this phase of the apocalypse, the apprenticeship phase, where essentially, I guess what I'm gathering is that it's a phase of learning and opening our minds and trying to discover unseen and forgotten truths. And you got Arya Stark, so this is cool. From this card, I'm gonna say that whatever your perspective is, you are no stranger to self-discovery. I'm gonna say that you are not fazed by other people's opinions. I'm gonna say that you work in the shadows a lot. I'm gonna say that you essentially move behind the scenes to discover your values, yourself, and what, like, because Arya, she has this crazy story. I mean, she, or, you know, whatever this fictional character's gender identity is, from the beginning, she's discovering that she doesn't want to be the little lady. She wants to be more of a, she like idolizes the knights and the soldiers and things like that. From the beginning, she knows herself well enough to know, I don't fit into the role that society wants me to play. And throughout the series, you see her by herself on her own, going into different communities, researching different, or like doing literal undercover investigation, like trying to primary research of all these different communities. And essentially every time she takes what she wants out of it, what feels right for her, and she gets rid of the rest. Arya Stark is a complete badass, but from that, I'm going to say that in this role, you probably, with all the different information that exists now and all these people, you are not swayed. You're somebody who is not swayed by the right and wrong. Like, there's this thing that a lot of people do where they pick and choose what narrative they believe, and then that narrative becomes infallible. And everything that even seems to go against that narrative is incorrect, is a threat. But I think you are one of those people who can open your mind up and go do, you know, behind the scenes research and experience different perspectives without being attached to the fact that one has to be completely true or completely wrong. You can take literally whatever you want, whatever helps you, whatever fits for you from these different perspectives, and essentially shape your own belief system from that. I would say you're very much a lone wolf in that pursuit. But, you know, Arya, it's not a bad thing, because Arya, she is definitely a lone wolf in the sense that she controls what she believes, what she's involved in, what she does, but she still always is looking out for the greater good. Like, she is still pretty much always worried about the people around her, the people she loves. She generally, in general, she doesn't really have a bias either. Like, she never has a bias about, oh, it's my family, they can do whatever they want. No. If her family sucks, she's like, you fucking suck. You're treating people bad. She's very much her own person. She very much steers her own ship and has no, like, bias attached. So she's a lone wolf, but she's an unbiased one who really does deeply care about the world around her. And she kind of just investigates what her perception of reality is. So. And you got the deer, which is so funny because I'm pretty sure that's their sigil, is the deer. Or like their symbol, their mascot is the deer, the Starks, I think. No, wait, they might be a wolf. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The Baratheons are a deer. So you got a deer. Okay. And which one? This one. The graveyard. Graveyard. Okay, and the sword. Dope. That's really cool. Okay, I need to look at what the graveyard, or not the graveyard, the deer is, because I don't have a lot of intuitive understanding of what deer symbolize. 36. Okay, the deer. Keep your promises. The spirit of the deer says, be faithful to yourself, loyal, determined, building trust, being reliable, keeping your promises. So I'm thinking from these cards that you might be in a period of turmoil. I want to say like external turmoil, like it's not you being confused about who you are. I think you are probably experiencing a lot of, I don't even want to say you're experiencing confusion. I don't think you're experiencing confusion. I think you're experiencing a lot of emotional turmoil about the world around you, because like I said, this character represents somebody who very much thinks for themselves and very much has the highest good of everyone around them in mind. And when you have that perspective, it can be very hard to watch the world around you going through so much, and all of the propaganda and all of the violence and all of the like negative things happening. So right here, I think that I don't think you're experiencing confusion. I think you're probably experiencing a lot of anger and a lot of I want to try to fix it all. This gives me very much social justice person. But it doesn't have to be like boots on the ground, although Arya is very boots on the ground, so you might be boots on the ground social justice person, to be quite frank with you. But I think that this is guidance to ease your mind, to say that all of this crazy stuff happening right now, it will be dealt with, it will work itself out. The graveyard card is about surrendering. I just looked this one up because I haven't pulled it yet, so this is a new deck. This one is, oh my god, justice. This one said it was about justice, okay? And then this one is about loyalty. So I think that this advice right now, essentially, there's nothing here that's saying you're in the wrong in any way. Like, nothing here is saying you have a bad take. It's saying, remember who you are and understand that everything is working out the way it's working out for a reason. The things that need to be dealt with will be dealt with. Justice will come. Surrender to the process, because you can't just snap your fingers and make everything okay. You can't just, oh my goodness, hold on. And then we got this Ten of Cups. But the Ten of Cups in this deck, I love it so much because it is essentially when Willow in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she's all afraid to do this spell to make the world a better place. She's afraid because she doesn't trust herself with that much magic, but because last time she used a lot of magic, she basically got power hungry. So there might be a little bit of a you having some inner turmoil about power and about like expressing your power as well. But this is very much saying, trust yourself, know you're correct, surrender to the process, know that things will work out, justice will be served. I'm getting very much that, you know, you don't have to worry about how your role, like you don't have to extensively plan or put a lot of energy, like just do whatever feels right to you, where your talents lie, what feels good to you, because at the end of this, Ten of Cups, first of all, in general, is like getting everything you've ever wanted, but it's also like, it's like your dreams coming true, but it's also Willow in this scene. She, instead of becoming power hungry, she turns into a freaking goddess, and she doesn't turn into a power hungry goddess. What she does is empower every girl in the world to have a little bit of Slayer power. So she's basically making it so the rest of the world is empowered. And I feel like that is very much what your goals are and what you want to do, is like you think for yourself, but you're very collective minded. And this is saying, like, essentially what I'm getting from this is that you don't even have to worry. Like, just follow your passion, follow your heart, surrender to the process, know that it's going to be difficult. You don't have to worry about things not working out, because justice will be dealt, things will work out, and you do have an active role in this. Trust yourself, trust the fact that you think for yourself, you're unbiased, and you have the collective's highest good in mind. And just know that even though the process will be uncomfortable and difficult, you will figure it out. And I think in the sense of this phase of the apocalypse being one of apprenticeship, you might have a problem with power-hungry groups. Like, you might really, in some way, be bothered by groups that are dogmatic, that are hierarchical, that are oppressive. So part of your role might be to make it so that those groups have less power because other people are empowered. This is actually a really interesting mix. So that's, I hope that made sense. This is all I'm going to say for this particular pile, because with these three cards, with these three perspectives, I actually think that they work together really well with each other, and I want to get into how they can work together, because you would think that some of them wouldn't get along very well, but I think they can work together very well. So I'm going to end this part of the reading and go to the last part of how these three perspectives can work together, and I will summarize. So meet me over there at the last part. Okay, so for the last part of this, we're going to quickly summarize each of the phase of the apocalypse we're in, each of the perspectives, and then we're going to look into how the perspectives can work together and how they can understand each other, because ultimately, through any period of transformation, there are going to be chaotic energies that need to figure out how to become cohesive and work together. And I actually see a very clear route when I look at this. So if the current phase we are in is an apprentice type phase where people are essentially waking up to the fact that there is more to reality in the systems that surround them than they are being led to believe, and they are all like open-handed, essentially immersing themselves in the waters of trying to figure out what the truth is, trying to remember lost truths. So we're all in this phase where we're all trying to figure things out and remember hidden and forgotten truths, okay? That's the collective energy. Then we have one perspective. This perspective of pile 1 is very much an ambassador and diplomatic and translating perspective, a perspective that says, let me take in all of the perspectives and try to see how they coexist and try to see how we can understand each other better. So that's this one, pile 1. Pile 2, this perspective is very much caught in a dogmatic cult type thing, not necessarily a cult, but a very dogmatic community. So caught in one perspective, but skeptical, very skeptical of that one perspective. And then this Arya Stark, pile 3, perspective of this phase of the apocalypse would be thinks for themselves and has the highest good in mind. So now, just me looking at it, I'm going to say that these two work together very well because Arya Stark works alone and is a badass, but has the highest good in mind. So very much a fierce, like, warrior type energy. And then what Missandei brings to the table is she's very diplomatic, and she is quite literally, her strength is networking. So these two very clearly and obviously work together to me because they're like two sides of the same coin. They're both very community and collective minded, but one of them is essentially taking matters into their own hands, and the other one is a networker. And then we have this one over here, which I think could benefit greatly from these two, because this one is one of somebody who is stuck in dogmatic thinking, fear-mongering, propaganda, but is skeptical and wants to get out. So I would say that the way that if you look at it, let's take different aspects of reality right now. There's all these different perspectives on the nature of reality. Okay, we'll just say this. We'll just go straight up nature of reality. We are all realizing that when it comes to the nature of reality, there are many different perspectives, okay? There's different religions, there's different spiritual beliefs, etc. Okay? So like Missandei is the person who is saying, yes, I understand this perspective, and this perspective, and let me help you to understand these perspectives as well. Arya is the person who is saying, yeah, I went into all of these different perspectives, and here's what I think about it, and here's what I found, and here's the things that helped me, and here's the things that didn't work for me. And these two are both looking out for, I would say more Arya is looking out for the highest good. She's more of a networker. This perspective is, I got caught up in one nature of reality perspective, one religion, one spiritual belief, one thing, and I'm skeptical of it because the perspective that this person is coming from has some sort of cult leader attached to it or some sort of dogmatic, propagandized belief system attached to it. So this person could greatly benefit from these two, as this one has hands-on experience and is unbiased, and this one is a networker and can translate all the other perspectives. They would offer a balanced perspective to this one. So I think collectively there's probably going to be a lot of people who are coming out of their dogmatic belief systems, and they're going to need to lean onto these two perspectives. People who have experience and people who are able to inform them about other perspectives. And I'm just going to see if there's like any tarot cards to kind of validate what I just said. Hold on. You know, this fell out. I'm going to say no fucking coincidences because this bitch came out. 4 of Swords, which is resting after a difficult period. Oh. Okay. Yeah, and I think this is specifically for this one. But it could be for all of them. Okay, here's another one. No. Ace of Swords. Again, don't put too much pressure on... this is giving, don't put too much pressure on knowing the truth, because essentially it's going to reveal itself when it's ready to reveal itself. And Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so how can these energies work together? Very simply put, this is very much giving nobody should be overextending themselves to try to speak their great truth or anything like that, or try to find the truth. Essentially, what it's boiling down to is if everyone is consistently willing to do the hard work of uncovering, willing to do the hard work of truly self-reflecting and looking at themselves and the world around them, the truth will be revealed. We will come to a place of understanding. Let's see. Okay. Anything else? Okay. The river. And in this card, wow. In this card, an angel is pouring out water into a river where all the different animals are playing and having a good time. This gives very much divine timing. It gives very much, nobody needs to stress too much. The weight of the world is not on your shoulders. All will happen in divine timing. Do the inner work. There's a lot of do the inner work. There's a lot of follow whatever feels true to you type energy. Work together, very work together kind of thing. Be willing to self-reflect. All this type of stuff. So in closing, I think that during this phase of the apocalypse, we are beginning to seek truth and knowledge on a collective level. We are, and what actually, I'm so glad I saved these cards, because the first card that I pulled from this Spirit Alchemy deck was the Waterfall, in which this person has an open hand and is letting the water flow. And the last card is the river, in which the angel is pouring the water into the river. And I think that's interesting because we start with saying, like, keep an open hand, let whatever comes your way come your way. And we end with saying, like, this angel, so it's representing a divine being, pouring what is coming your way into the hand. So to me, it's very much giving, during this time of confusion and searching for the truth and learning to understand the world around you in truth, it is about, like, the only thing is, like, allow yourself the space, allow yourself the patience, allow yourself to rest, allow yourself to go with your own internal flow, but be willing to self-reflect. Be willing to do the inner work and the external work with the people around you, and, like, just allow things to happen in divine timing, because in timing, essentially, things will work out. We will be given answers. If you see this angel literally pouring water, and the way that I see it is like it's pouring water into this person's hand. It also very much gives everything will work out if everyone just kind of allows each other to be the thing that they are. Because one thing I can see, this is the last thing I'm going to say, but one thing I can see with this person is the person who, pile 2, who likely has some sort of dogmatic community that they are skeptical of, is that when you come out of this, you will have so much knowledge and information about how this happens, how people get swayed by hierarchical, oppressive, cult-like systems. You will have information about how people get swayed, what is happening psychologically in the brain of somebody who gets swayed by this. And you will be able to service the collective in that way, where you can say, like, this is my experience, and this is how I fell prey to it, and this is how I got out of it. And that will be able to work really well with these two people who, unbiased, looking out for the highest good, and a translator of all different perspectives. So I think that it's essentially, in closing, the way that we work through this phase of the apocalypse, where we are trying to decipher what is true and what is a lie, is by just talking to each other, allowing ourselves to self-reflect, allowing ourselves to go with the flow, and allowing divine timing to play out, allowing the divine to provide you with synchronicities, allowing the divine to work things out in the world around you, and staying open-minded to what's happening in the world around you, not getting attached to one possibility or perspective in what's happening in the world around you. Being willing to talk to each other, being willing to understand each other, and just go with the flow from there. Let things play out, learn from each other. That's how we eventually, and like with the 7 of Pentacles, it's not going to be easy by any means. It is going to be difficult, but it's not like overextending yourself trying to spread a message or trying to get to the ultimate truth. It's literally just everyday, mundane, being willing to learn from each other, talk to each other, self-reflect, and keep your eyes open, and be skeptical of everything, but open to everything. That's all I have for this phase of the apocalypse. I hope it was helpful. Okay, that's all. Bye.